Welcome back, everyone, to week 6 of a 10-week series that we're hosting at the Olin R. Wilson Health Center in Galax, Virginia. This week is our last week for implementing healthy lifestyle strategies, and we're going to be talking about eating healthy while on a budget. So, throughout today, we're just going to be discussing risk factors for or of food insecurity and what individuals of this area might be facing and discussing, in general, eating healthy on a budget and some tips and tricks for that. We're going to have a group activity where we determine our own budget for our groceries. We're going to determine some meals and then create our grocery list from that. And then we will be looking at some community resources that we have here in the Twin Counties for accessing food. So, um, in OT, we, as an occupational therapist, we like to look at the whole person. And I'm speaking of a model that we use. It's the PEO model, so person, environment, and occupation. And what that really looks at is not just the person. It's important to consider, yes, them, the individual themselves, but we want to also look at the impact of that individual's occupation and their environment and their impact on one another. And so when we, talk about risk factors of food security and insecurity among older adults, I think that it's important to consider these things. So again, as OTs, we definitely look at the influence of food insecurity and insecurity and health status among older adults, and then their ability to engage in and complete food-related tasks. Chronic disease and chronic disease related symptoms can really impact functional abilities in general. And so some food related tasks or occupations that might be impaired or impacted by chronic disease would be shopping for food, transporting that food home, and preparing nutritious meals and knowing what that nutrition is and what you need to be having and putting into your body consistently. So if you don't have the ability to shop for food or even get to the store, and then, individually being able to safely get that food home and buying that food in combination, you can kind of put yourself at a more severe risk for further health complications, especially if you are already dealing with chronic diseases. And so it's really important that individuals get their food. And if these, specifically food related tasks or occupations are impacted, then you might have an individual facing malnutrition. And so these are all things that we want to prevent from happening and assist individuals in doing. So some other food related activities among that might be hard among older adults with chronic illness would be self-feeding, eating, swallowing, knowing and promoting nutritional foods, prepping those meals, cleaning up the meals, and then kind of what I talked about too, just that community mobility piece, being able to get to the store, shop around the store, and then being able to have the energy and safely get that food home and put it away and prepare it or whatever you do when you get home with your food. And then another one might be dining with others or getting out to a restaurant and meeting someone for lunch or dinner. Finances can certainly impact an individual's access to food. And poor financial management would be one. Also, shopping. So having the finances to shop, right, and get the food that you need. So when we're engaging in food related activities, it's important to consider our musculoskeletal functions, our gait patterns, how we walk, making sure that we're balanced while we walk. And that's important because, again, our mobility related portion to food related activities, standing balance, standing at a counter and being able to reach for different items and making the items. And again, shopping in and out of through the grocery store. Some other, you know, things I feel like we need to be considerate of are our social skills, routines, roles, and psychosocial status. All of these I feel like play a role into food related activities because If are we have a severely limited diet, being able to go out and eat with others, that makes things more challenging or harder. Um, and as far as having a routine and specific meal times throughout the day, these can either, support or impede somebody's ability to access or engage in these food related tasks. So these are all things to keep in mind while we're talking about food. Being able to access food is just as important. So eating healthy on a budget, we're going to be going through a handful of tips here, but I've created a handout at the end that's kind of an all-encompassing tool of these tips. And they're really helpful to consider when you are trying to eat healthy and on a budget. So planning your meals, number one, pick a day that you want to plan your meals for the upcoming week. So whether that's on a weekend or the first day of the week, make that list and then break down the meals. So make a list of all the stuff that you need for each meal. Check the fridge before. We all often leave the house or do we have cheese? Do we have milk? I'm not sure. So check the fridge first. Um, and you can plan your food or plan your meals around the foods that you need to get rid of. We don't always think about that. We just think of leftovers as not as good anymore. But they really can be good. And we'll learn later that we can add them or use them as a part of other meals and things like that. But next, stick to your grocery list. Avoid any unintended purchases and expenses. We'll learn not to go to the store hungry because you will buy any and anything. Shop on the outer edges of the store. So the Whole Foods are typically are located on the outer edge of the store, and you are more likely to fill those with your cart or fill those up first. Um, and the processed foods are on the inside. So when you go to the store, make sure you go on the outside first and fill your cart up with those first. Because if you just go to the middle of the store, you're probably just going to fill your cart up with mainly processed foods. When you are looking on shelves and things like that, check the bottom and the top. As far as marketing and branding goes, they typically put the most expensive items at eye level. So make sure you're checking all your options. Look at grocery store apps. They'll help you find deals, coupons, and you can put your grocery list on there and you'll have a digital version in case you forgot yours at home. Cook at home. Make this a habit. Try to avoid eating out as much as you can. It's definitely cheaper. Um, you you can do meal planning or you can, cook a meal each day. It's kind of up to you and, your household, but if you have typically a busy week and taking time out of your evening to cook a meal is hard, go ahead and you can meal prep. You can meal prep for the week. Um, and that's always helpful too for lunches and things like that. Um, and while, cooking at home, you can gain a better knowledge and understanding of the ingredients that you use and things like that. Cook large portions and use your leftovers. Again, here's the leftovers. So they might not always be the best second time around, but they always save you time and money, and leftovers are just as good. And they can really be used for, a lunch the next day, which is I've always done that, which is good. Or you can put them and use them for other recipes. Um, Typically things like stews, stir fry, salads, burritos, things like that. Be creative. You can also freeze your leftovers in single portions and date them so that you know when last cooked that meal, how long it'll be good for, things like that. Um, and this also stops you from eating out and cooking a meal. So this is a nice way to also maybe have a family meal, designated family time throughout the week. Don't shop when you're hungry. You'll likely stray from the grocery list. This is true. I think we've all been a victim of impulsive buying when we're hungry. But like I mentioned before, you'll likely reach for more processed foods instead of the more nutrient foods. So if you are hungry and you go to the store, try to eat like a piece of fruit or yogurt, something like that before you go so that you're not hungry. And always remember, if it's not on the list, it's not in the budget. Whoa. So whoa, we did not need to go that far. Buy Whole Foods. Some Whole Foods are more affordable if they're in a less processed form. So if you think about like buying a big bag of cheese, go ahead and buy the block of cheese because it's cheaper and you can just shred it at home. Canned beans versus refried beans. Again, You can you can process them further when you get home, but if you buy them in a less processed form, it's typically more affordable. Try to buy things like whole grains, rice and oats. They're really good in like cereals, oatmeal, things like that. Overnight oats. Try to buy larger quantities of less processed food because overall you're going to save money, and you get more servings per package. Buying generic brands is definitely a win. Um, do don't be afraid to do this. They follow strict guidelines, just like, top brands follow guidelines to make sure all of our food's safe. So, they typically do provide the same quality of the product. Sometimes the generics are better, but they're just less expensive. But make sure you read the ingredients because with some of like the national brand foods, you just don't wanna make sure that they're either adding or taking away an ingredient or allergy that you might have. So just make sure you continue to check and read the label. Avoid buying highly processed foods, and you can you'd be surprised how much money you'd spend on, sodas, crackers, cookies, prepackaged meals, things like that. One, they lack the beneficial nutrients that we need, and then 2, they often are just bad for you. Like I just said, they have more, higher in sodium or added sugar, um, and you save more money. We've already discovered that, processed foods are more expensive than whole food. And you'll have more money in your budget to spend on whole food if you stop eating processed foods. Stock up on sales and coupons. So this would be, when you have your handy dandy grocery app or something like that. I suggested to our friends this past week in our group to stock up on your to-go items when they're on sale. So anything, I mean, it could be food related or household related, like Dawn dish soap, something like that. But if you know that you use it and it's on a good deal, stock up. Don't be afraid to do that. You'll save money in the long run. Um, Oh, yeah, and make sure it won't if it is something, that will expire, make sure it doesn't expire before you plan to use it. Buy cheaper cuts of meat, chuck steak, pork chop, things like whole chicken, ground meat, poultry, things like that. You can use these in your burritos, soups, casseroles, stir fries. Again, get creative, but you could buy a larger cut of meat and then use them in several meals during the week. Replace your meat with other proteins. This one's kind of hard. I feel like I don't always think to do this, but eating less meat does save you money. Meat is very expensive, but try to pick like a day or two that you substitute one of your proteins for another protein, something like hemp seeds, eggs, canned fish, something like that with a longer shelf life. And again, it also helps save money. And shop for produce that's in season. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. It usually tastes better too. And it's cheaper. And if you're buying fruit that's out of season, it's gonna be more expensive because you're buying it's being transported from further distances and things like that. Don't be afraid to buy frozen fruit and buy by the bag and freeze the rest. Um, totally okay to do that. You can do this, buy your frozen fruits and vegetables. And they're usually because fresh veggies and fruits are usually only in season for like a couple months or whatever out of the year, but if you freeze them and that kind of thing, you'll have them year round. So they're just as nutritious. We know that they're cheaper. You can throw these. I love to make a good smoothie. I have like ice, orange juice. I throw the frozen fruits and veggies and a banana in there, and it's perfect. And with frozen fruit, you can take only the amount you need. You won't be wasting a whole lot, which is also saving you money. So buy in bulk. If you live in an area that's close to like a Costco or Sam's Club, something like that, this is definitely um, you could take advantage of that and buy in bulk. Some foods like brown rice, barley oats, beans, lentils, some nuts, and dried fruit. Those are usually available in bulk, and they ensure a long shelf life. Use airtight containers when you're storing food to continue um, that long shelf life. And buying in bulk, you can use, like we discovered with the meat, you can use things in a variety of different meals. If you are able and you can grow your own produce, I think this is an awesome way to save money. It's really cheap to have a garden and buy the seeds and things like that, but to maintain it definitely takes more time, more personal time and things like that. If you can't grow, you could always join a community garden or know where you can get your local produce from. Seeds are really cheap to buy, like I said, so you can grow all kinds of things, herbs, sprouts, tomatoes, onions, asparagus, pepper, squash, all kinds of things. And you'll have a continuous supply at home. And it'll save you money, especially in the months where the produce is in season or the fruit is in season. And it tastes better, I'm sure. You'll also know where that fruit's coming from, and you'll know, or in the veggies, and you'll know whether you'll be able to ensure its ripeness. And Another thing that you can do is pack your lunch. It's cheaper than eating out for sure. You can use your leftovers for your lunch meals as well. This gives you control over what you eat, and you can choose, a more nutrient filled option for lunch versus going to like Wendy's and getting a 4 for 4. Um, and like I said, you can use your leftovers or something that you've previously ate. Use coupons. Don't be afraid to clip as many coupons as you can. These really do help you save money, and it just comes down to sorting, organizing, and using and clipping all your coupons. Don't be afraid to do it, again, on household items, not just food, but anything that you need, and stock up on them. Appreciate less expensive foods. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get the benefit from nutritious foods as you would like spending a lot of money on it. You can just make simple adjustments and using ingredients that you aren't used to. You can increase the use of eggs, beans, seeds, frozen fruits, veggies, cheaper cuts of meat, and whole grains. And that's really going to help if you have that mindset to appreciate these less expensive foods. You really are going to save a lot more money in the long run. Buy from cheap online realtors. This is or retailers. This is an option if you can and want to order online. And if this is more feasible for you to get um something like HelloFresh, something delivered to your home, they really do have nutritious meals. It usually comes with everything that you need. Sometimes you can get, meals up to 50% cheaper than you would in the grocery store. So weigh your options. I definitely told our ladies to consider this as one of their options to help save money, and you know that it's unprocessed and more nutritious foods and things like that. And it comes straight to your door. So if you have if it's hard to get out to the grocery store and things like that, mobility might be an issue. You can order right to your house, which would be awesome. And then this is the resource that I made for just all these tips. And at the end, there is kind of like community and virtual resources as far as uh, locating food in the Twin Counties. And so we did a group activity where we determined a grocery budget. We created a meal or we decided on a meal and we created a grocery list out of that. So in order to determine a grocery budget, we did a quick start budget handout. And so this handout, you can click it right here. It just kind of walks through like creating a budget or a grocery budget. So just doing some math as far as your income and expenses and things like that, and being able to really create a budget. And then just some smart tips is, again, don't be afraid to meal prep. In order to like save money, you could use an envelope method, use some budgeting apps. That envelope method is, numbering envelopes 1 through 100 and drawing one every day and putting your tip money in there, whatever it is, whatever your method is for saving, you could also try. Don't be afraid to use grocery apps or grocery store apps. That's another way to have your um, grocery list virtual or bring your hard copy. And then definitely utilize the handout that I made. And this is what I gave for them. This is just another tool that I um, provided for you to be able to kind of budget or plan for your meals. And when we are creating a meal plan, obviously we want to have our monthly budget for our groceries, but then we can begin to break that down into our grocery budget. And so we want to consider a few things before we meal plan, right? We want to know what our weekly schedule is going to look like, how many people are going to be eating that night. We want to know the portion size. We want to make sure that we don't have a ton of leftovers. But if we do, again, we've walked through some of our ways to save money using leftovers. And also, determine the meals you know you want to try, the ones you do know you like, and then the ones you want to try or that have ingredients that you're not as comfortable with but would love to try and eat and implement and things like that. Um, Again, always go back to your list of ingredients, write down the list of ingredients. Make sure you check your fridge, and write down any and anything that you're going to need for those meals. And then um, you can either go ahead and start budgeting and looking up prices ahead of time. But again, going ahead and making sure you're not double buying and things like that's already going to save you money. Um, and then don't be afraid to use online resources to help you create a meal or budget friendly menu. I love this resource right here. It's awesome. It's a really cool website. He just has um, he provides a lot of education on like nutritional resources. He has a whole tab just for recipes for you to try that are, budget friendly and healthy. He talks about how food is medicine and just the what we need to be putting into our bodies, and how our bodies will, treat us better after that. So definitely a helpful resource that I provided in our group. So this is what we did. We just determined a meal that we wanted to have. We thought about the ingredients that we would need, and we made a list of those ingredients that the meal, all the ingredients within that meal. And then we made a list of, what of those ingredients do I need to buy and what do I already have. Um, and I told them to physically take that list of your ingredients to the fridge or to the pantry and then mark off the things that you already have. And then you're able to write down things that you need to grab. So yeah, we did this and it was awesome. I gave them this meal planner tool just to kind of help jot down the meals that they would want to have. And then again, they have the ingredients over there to the right and take that list to the kitchen and start marking things off. This was just another option that I gave for them to have. And then for the grocery list, I gave them a couple options as well, but this one just kind of it's organized a little bit. It just kind of breaks it down based on the areas maybe in the store, but also just like your needs. And it kind of help you look um again, break down the things that you need. And so like we've talked about a bajillion times, make sure that I love a hard copy of a grocery list. It's perfect, but take a picture of it so that you have it on your phone in case you forget it at the house. And stick to the list when you get there. Make sure that you are looking and comparing prices, look for sales, things that are marked down, and categorize your list because it can help. And this is just another option for a shopping list. And yeah, these are just the group resources that we went over this week. And some community resources that we have here are some food banks like Willing Partners and Independence, New Life Food Bank in Hillsville, Agape Food Pantry in Wytheville, and Our Daily Bread Food Pantry, which is a part of a Pentecostal Holiness Church in Max Meadows. And then again, those virtual resources I gave for helping budget and locating these food pantries and determining recipes and things like that and a menu for your week. And then these were just our reminders that next week we're going to be talking about our SMART goals. So we'll be checking in on where we're at with meeting our goals. Um, and then always sign up here if you, want to come on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30. We'll be there, and Thursdays from 3 to 4:30. Just scan the QR code. We meet in the back room of the free clinic. And if you're like, I don't want to do the group, I would love to meet with you one-on-one. So you can sign up here for a one-on-one session with me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. But these are my references, and thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.